Great. Okay. Welcome again. My name is Hannah Locke. I'm the program manager with the Prenatal to 5 Innovation Support Strategy with Best Starts for Kids. And today I'm going to share a little bit more about the Prenatal to 5 Community Design Program Development Workshop Series. Sorry, actually, I forgot to take that off from last time's no longer pilot. This is our second round where we have opened up this workshop series for community and looking forward to sharing a little bit more with you today. For all of our info sessions, I hope to provide a little bit of just background context. If you're new to Best Starts for Kids, share a little bit about the initiative and where this body of work sits. And then we'll really, because this is really a workshop series, spend the bulk of the time talking about what the goals are of the workshop series so that folks that are interested can really have a better understanding to see if their program or their organization would be a good fit to apply to attend. And then because it is an application process, I'll also share a little bit about what that entails and some tips for applying, as well as any space throughout. I'm open to questions and answers. Great. So this is our little intro to Best Starts for Kids. This is our mission for Best Starts for Kids. The mission is to strengthen families and communities so that babies are born healthy, children thrive, and establish a strong foundation for life, and young people grow into happy, healthy adults. And all of our work, we want to lead with our values. So we always like to share those and be transparent around what those mean to us and how it applies to this current work. These values are around striving for equity, moving towards meaningful change, transparency in the work that we do with community and kind of accountability towards our community and our partners, prioritizing and strengthening relationships, and being really community oriented. This whole workshop, it really takes on those values in the way that the workshop is implemented and how we work with those that will attend, as well as the goals of the workshop as well are really community oriented and based off of really this community design process. So again, just another how this sits within the overall initiative of Best Starts for Kids. This is focused on the investing early area, so the innovation support strategy goal. Sorry, I'm going to actually just jump into here. Across the levy, Best Starts invests in the design and development of community-led and community-based programming. For the innovation support strategy, the goal of the strategy is actually around providing capacity building supports at the program level for this area of work. So in the really early design of a program or early development through implementation, particularly for community that are creating, developing their own programs with feedback and in co-design with their communities. This is a workshop series that we've run several times internally with other Best Starts programs and partners. And then in this past year, in 2024, we piloted offering the workshop series externally where folks can apply and participate, creating a cohort in their own community and guidance along the way. And we are with the feedback that we had through that initial pilot was fairly well received. So we're excited to be able to offer it to community again. So this is all information around what that application to participate looks like. There is a stipend available to sort of offset the costs of staff time or volunteer community time in attending. And we really hope to have a kind of a broad reach in terms of community. I apologize from our pilot. One distinction where this is different is that in the initial pilot, we were really trying to reach beyond Best Starts funded partners. This time around, because we've offered that initial one, we are extending it. So folks that have funding from Best Starts are actually, so this is a typo in the slide that I forgot to delete, are eligible to apply. So this is no longer correct. But in the materials that you have, the application should state that. Okay, so this is a little bit more about the workshop series itself here, just to dive in. So again, it's really focused on folks who are creating a new program or are within the first 3 years of an existing program, and really just having wanting to develop it further. We are offering really specific concrete tools that we believe can be really helpful for programs as they think about what are their program goals, how they evaluate their program, and what materials can support them as they're implementing the program ongoing, and setting them up for kind of this continuous learning and development of the program. So there's like a specific framework that we use throughout that has kind of helped us create the different workshops throughout this series. And the kind of bucket areas as we advance is really focusing on first kind of envisioning the program. So some folks might join and be really at the early stages of a program. They haven't implemented it yet. And other folks may join, as I mentioned, in the early phases of the program. They're already implementing, maybe have been implementing for a year or two, but are hoping to kind of create some more of these tools now that they know have a sense of what the program is and what it's doing. So we'll start with envisioning the program or clarifying, putting down onto paper what it is, that vision of the program. And then there's a section on getting actionable, so some tools around implementation. And then after that, thinking through what does sustainable funding for this program look like. The series will start in early April and go through May. And we'll make these slides available after this as well. So each of these individual slides just really break down more around each of the individual workshop bucket topic areas. So in the initial, it's also sort of a hybrid model. So note that there are some in-person workshops to start to longer all day in person. And then we end with a sustainable funding, which is also an in-person as well. So the first one is really about, again, clarifying what is the vision of the program, creating something called a theory of change, and thinking about how, what are the hoped, intended early changes or long-term impacts of the program, and really having a sense of like, what is the story, what is the path or vision for the program. And then under the getting actionable pieces, this is where we see kind of that creating that blueprint or program guide to really support implementation. I will say for folks that have done this work after already implementing, they may come with materials already, but it can still be a really helpful process to bring what you have and think about what more you want to create, or does what we have sort of in writing, captured and documented, reflect what we're actually doing. So we'll introduce some models of creating a program guide called a practice profile that can be a really helpful tool, whatever phase you are at within the program, to support kind of creating that program or implementing it according to your vision, which comes in the workshop before. So I will say one piece, when we get to the expectations, is really the hope that folks can join each of the workshops. So that's really important because they build upon each other throughout the content. And then we have beyond program materials and sort of what you need to implement, what staff will use, or what will be most helpful in guiding the program. Other pieces that we felt like were really kind of concrete and might be useful is what is the program budget? So there's a workshop around kind of good practices around creating a really accurate program budget. And then also thinking about evaluation and how you might, what do you want to learn about your program from wherever phase that you're at? And then finally, the last workshop of this series is focused on sustainable funding. So it's sort of a general introduction to different fundraising strategies, thinking and practicing creating strategic storytelling for your program. And then sort of could be at a broader organizational level, thinking about donor engagement and revenue diversification. So this one I think is can be a little bit more broad tools for you as an organization, but also holding in mind the program as well. So those are kind of the main topics and scope of the workshop series. I'll pause to see if there's any questions about that as you're thinking about, your program idea or what you're currently working on. And I'm also very much available for any questions after today as well. Okay. There's no questions, I'll keep going. So the application to participate in the series, I'll say, so we do have a participation application because of the way the series is set up with, we actually pair program teams for a few of the workshops with an individual facilitator that guides you as you develop and draft some of these materials. So it's a pretty customized and intensive experience during those first 2 days. And so that kind of creates a capacity issue for our team, so that we've noted that we can the best fit is to serve about 12 programs in a given cohort. And so that's why we have the application, because there might be more interest than beyond the 12 that we can accommodate for each workshop series. So there's a short application process to participate. It is due January 24th at 5 p.m. Another typo that came out, I think, in the initial blog post, I think did say January 21st, and then we later modified that to the end of the week. So just something to note, if you see a discrepancy, the final date is this one that is on the participation application document itself. So the 24th at 5 p.m. The Microsoft form link will close for applications. And then a reminder that the series timeline is from April to May. So for folks who end up submitting an application, I really encourage to hold the dates that are given on your calendars. In the event that you are accepted to participate, then you're all ready to participate in those days. Just based off of the timeline with when we'll be able to let you know, it would be good just to hold those dates in case. And I mentioned that there's a stipend. So there's a participation stipend available. If all 12 folks who are accepted to participate want that, they can access that. There's a question on the application that just asks, are you interested in the stipend? And so we do have capacity for everyone who wants it to have that, who's accepted. It's up to $5,000 per team, and it's intended again for the time that you're taking out of your other many hats that you wear. Another thing we want to stress, though, while we have this $5,000 stipend award, this is a capacity building opportunity. It's a chance to participate in the workshop series, and it's not direct service funding for your program. And so we're very mindful that this is, the opportunity. We have the sustainability workshop, but it's not necessarily a connection to funding down the line from Best Starts for Kids. At all. So it's really just focused on your own growth of your program. This is just a more detailed timeline. Some things to note is that there is technical assistance for applications. So if for folks that might be one of the first times they're applying to participate in something, or they'd like somebody to review and walk through or think through if this is a good fit for them, we have technical assistance available through Best Starts for Kids, and that's available through January 13th. And there's a link in the application for how to access that technical assistance. I can put the link in the chat at the end as well. See what are some other pieces. Our goal is to notify folks if they're accepted or not accepted by the end of February. That does leave about 1 month. As part of the participation, we do a brief orientation over Zoom, phone, or in person if requested. And that would take place in March for folks that are going to participate. And then again, I said several times, we're starting in April. A little bit more about just the application and selection process. So once we close on January 24th, there'll be a brief administrative review to check that everyone who applied was eligible for the opportunity. And I'll go through what that looks like in the next slide. And then there will be a review panel that consists of community members, county staff, potentially council member staff that participate in reviewing, and then final recommendations for the 12 teams that will participate. Okay, so who is this workshop series for? We encourage community groups, coalitions, small nonprofit, small for-profit, community-based, Black, Indigenous, and other communities of color-led organizations to apply. The minimum eligibility is that you have capacity to send a team of at least 2 folks to join each of the workshops. And that the program that you're intending to develop has the ability to impact families prenatal to 5 in King County. We did have and that program is within sort of this early phase of their development. There was a question previously, and I want to just make sure to address, is that the program can be to provide direct services. It could be to support caregivers, it could be to support professionals in the field. So as long as the kind of long-term overall impact is for positive outcomes for children and families prenatal to 5 in King County, whatever the program idea or approach can look many different ways. Was there a question? Yes, I'll share a copy of the recording. Absolutely, thanks, Kristen. So this graphic here just shares a little bit more about something that I referenced, which is sort of like the phase of the program. So I did want to mention, and this is really, again, more about the types of programs or where you're at that might find this workshop series most meaningful. So those are the ones across the line that says sort of ready for workshop series. This is a little bit of jargon here, but these are the different phases. So ideation would mean that you're kind of like thinking about, you have an idea of a program or approach that you're really interested in for your community. And you're ready for the next step to kind of further develop that idea. Preparation might be you have a more concrete idea and you're getting ready to implement. Maybe you have some funding secured and you're just maybe you're hiring or getting ready in other ways to start to implement the program. And then early implementation, again, we've defined that as kind of like the first 3 years of any new community design program, where you're still very much in delivering services or doing the work, but still learning, and could still benefit from creating some of these tools that are kind of defining what you've learned as you've started to implement the program. And then the ones in gray are the ones that might not be the best fit. I would say, though, if you're, there could be a few cases where you still might think that this could be a good fit, and there is a other section in that one. So if you have some strong justification, you might consider it. But this is really more for folks to understand who might have the best experience in this series. And then in terms of sort of the desired qualifications or who the review panel might see as a best fit for this opportunity, they'll be looking at sort of that readiness to engage in program development and capacity building. So again, that folks have the capacity to participate, have kind of that connection to community, have a solid idea in place if they are in that ideation phase already, so that they can really take off from there and engage in the activities of the workshops. So readiness to further develop the Prenatal to 5 program while centering community. So this is where we'll be really looking for, as a community design program, what has been the process so far, or what is your ability ongoingly to really connect and listen to community and center community voice in the creation, development of the program. And then also that that the program is meeting or addressing an unmet need in King County. And the way that we've set that up is really for you to tell us what need have you seen, and how does this approach or program project that you have that you're looking to develop, how is that meeting the need that you have seen or community has seen? Great. And so those are kind of like higher level, and that's broken down a little bit more in the participation application as a response to the questions. Okay, so some logistics on how to apply to participate. There was a blog post that went out. I've been sending some emails out to folks who might be interested in applying. And then this opportunity is up on the Best Starts Workshops website. So if you haven't accessed that before, at the very end, once I have a second, I will also put that link in the chat. So from there, you can click to access the Microsoft form, which is the application where you'll submit the application questions. And there's just a little bit more of a short overview as well at that site. There are 17 questions to answer. Several of them are just kind of basic information. So the narrative questions are much shorter than that amount. And then just a reminder throughout, if you have any questions or technical issues, submitting the form, we always encourage folks to submit before that deadline. We'll be available that final day, but feel free to reach out with questions along the way. I will share out any questions from today as part of sort of an amendment that shares out this recording as well. So feel free to ask any questions. And then just a couple other small tips for folks to consider. Again, just kind of, I'm probably repeating myself quite a bit, but and before applying, make sure that the dates work for you in time so that you can commit to fully participating across the workshop series. So this is an opportunity to participate as a program. So again, it should have a team of at least 2 folks. We've seen it work really well with more than 2. There's a lot of kind of small group work that you'll do with your program team. So as much as it can be a discussion-based, reflective with a group of folks, I think is where you'll probably get more out of it. So you should apply as a group. And then the application is submitted through Microsoft Forms. I don't know if you've ever used that before, but it's not like a system where you log in and save. So I would recommend referencing the questions and maybe on just a separate document, writing out your responses if you're working with others to do that, and then just copy pasting into the form before you submit. And I do have it set up so you can save your responses as well once you submit. And again, hold those dates on your calendars. Okay. And just a reminder, with any application process, the questions are available in the long application document, even though it's a short thing with all the county requirements that ended up being like 20 pages. So that document has everything hopefully that you would need. Has the questions and then the rating criteria that the review panel will use to kind of look around the qualifications. And let's see. Yes, if there's any reason for appeal, all that information is available in the document in terms of the dates for that. And we would hope to get back to folks after the formal review and approval by our department leadership by the end of February, as mentioned before. And this is just a little bit more overview of that application assistance that I mentioned that is available for folks. So again, they can help with thinking through, is this a good fit for my program or organization? They can even review your responses with you or help think through responses. They don't write the application for you, but are available sort of throughout the process. Okay. Just a couple more things. In the participation application, that long document, it does have an example of sort of what the expectations would be if you are receiving the stipend. So we would do a letter of agreement with the county. And sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's the next slide. So what to expect either way if you do or don't do the stipend, again, is that you would join as a team. The workshops we try to have them be really interactive, so small and large group discussions across your cohort. We're hoping to do that even more based off of feedback from our pilot this time around, and kind of pairing different programs so you can all learn from each other. We hope that folks leave each workshop with something tangible that they've created within the workshop time. And that there's a lot of opportunity for you to share ideas and feedback, provide feedback to each other within your program team, as well as across the different programs that are attending. Our team of consultants that are putting on the workshop series are also available for one-on-one follow-up. That could be, virtually through Zoom or in person. That's optional. And the time is not related to the stipend. The stipend time is only for the workshop series themselves. Okay. And then this is, if you do opt in for the stipend and are selected, you would receive that. We would draw a letter of agreement with the county. And the basic pieces of that is mostly based off attendance. So as long as you're attending, if you're attending, we assume that you're actively engaging in the content of the workshops. We also will continue to do evaluation activities throughout. It's a short survey after each workshop, and then the pre and post short meeting, which is more of just a conversation. And that can be by Zoom or phone or in person if requested. So we would do that process of creating the letter of agreement after folks were notified in February. Any questions there? Actually, that rounds out all the information that I have to share. And I will go ahead and, well, let me pause in case there's any questions.
Okay, thanks so much, Hannah. I have a question. Is stipend going to the agencies or the staff members who are participating?
Yeah, that's a great question. With the way for the letter of agreement, we submit the payment to the organization or whoever is sort of the fiscal. For some community groups in the past, it's just whoever was going to take the responsibility to receive the payment. And then we're not monitoring any of how you use those funds, but we do hope and trust that you will get that back to the folks that are participating. So I suppose if there was specific requests to do that differently, we could, but it's just, with even a letter of agreement, sometimes it can be tricky to get everything into contract with the county. So, it could be easiest just to have the organization, and then you can decide how you disperse that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
And the other question is there any sort of restriction on the slides says that the program design is not restricted. It starts with kind of program ideation. So is there some sort of programs that are, you know, geared towards children, geared toward families, parents, or this is, very much program that covers 0 to 5 and not restricted in any form, shape? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way that we tried to kind of frame it, I know it says program specifically, but it's really because in prenatal to five innovation support sits under invest early prenatal to five. It just has to be connected to families prenatal to five. And it could be really within any area of that, so long as you see that a short or long-term outcome of your program is positively impacting prenatal to five communities in King County, then you bring to us like what that looks like. So again, it could be it could be like a project, it could be, you know, however creatively you're coming with from based off of what you've heard from community. It could be a sort of broader, more multi-generational approach, but we would just want to see that for example, in your theory of change, one of the outcomes is positively impacting prenatal to five. Does that make sense? Or does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Yeah, I think with the example, I think that Hiawatha gave around like some improvements or a resource or training for childcare providers, that would definitely, even though the focus is on maybe childcare providers, or like kind of more workforce change, the ultimate sort of long-term outcomes you could link to prenatal to kids and families. So that would definitely qualify under that. Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you so much for joining.